Want some candy?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
I hear you looking for candy, man, bitch.
Give me some sugar, baby.
Like scary movies.
Want some candy?
When they're little like that, you don't fucking know where they are. There could be an alien here, there could be an alien under your bed, there could be an alien hiding like in one of your shirts. Where you gotta put it on.
Yeah. Simulation is getting spicy.
Maybe that's why Mitt Romney's not running again. It's not because he wants the young people, it's a younger group to be able to run. It's because he's like, this shit's getting real.
Maybe.
Too many secrets are coming out.
God damn it. What's up, candy killers out there in Monster Candy Land? Welcome back to another episode of Monster Candy Podcast with Oobliette Sparks from Tsunami Bomb and myself, Screamin E from the Memphis Murdermen. And today we are going to talk about Samuel Bodin's 2023 horror mystery, Cobweb. But before we even touch that thing, me and Oobliette have to catch up and discuss some horror news. That's right. Horror news, guys. And to catch up because we've been busy little bees. Oobliette's been a little busier than I have, but
I mean, for a couple days.
Yeah. And she's healthy.
Ruined.
She skated through it.
I am.
So yeah, tell us how the little run go for Tsunami Bomb. For anyone who who wasn't following.
Let's see. Boston was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to this festival that in all places, it's in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Right.
And it's at a drive-in movie theater. And this year they actually had like carnival rides.
Oh, really?
And the stages were really cool. Oh, yeah. And they had really good shopping. They had a ton of different like food options,
right,
which I didn't get to try because it was like we were only there for one day.
Right.
But man, they really they've grown this thing every year, and this year they did such a good job. It's run by a couple women, and it was nice. We headlined the first night, so the headliners get their own RV, and
Ooh.
They just like stacked it with snacks and all kinds of stuff. So we were really excited about that. And then all of a sudden, this cute dude like knocks on our door, and like he's like not like our server or slave, but or like maybe like
say he wasn't our slut or slave.
Yeah, no. Maybe like a handler, but he starts taking stuff out of the fridge, and he's like, "Oh no, like I'm gonna cut up all of this for you." And like platter it. You know, we've already like we're torn open bags of everything, and we're just like taking like raw broccoli and dipping it in the dips, like giant pieces, like a head of broccoli, and just like eating it. And he's like, no, like, and he goes and takes all this stuff and goes outside and like cuts it, makes these nice little trays for us. And then we had a meet and greet that was like meat, like food meat.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought we were going to be making all the hot dogs and giving them to people, but no, he went and set up this little grill and he made all the hot dogs and gave them to us to give to people.
That's awesome.
So we got spoiled. I decided, because I got stuck in my own mind and bored like I do, to start making food and beer pairings for each band. So we recorded a bunch of videos where I would myself or I'd give the other members like food and drink pairings and make them do a video while the band was playing. So that was fun. But yeah, it was exciting. After all the bands played, you walk up to where this haunted hayride would be, and they have this tiny starlight stage behind all the movie screens where all these acoustic bands played till super late, and there was just like twilight lights everywhere and big sing-alongs. It was really cool, except for there weren't bathrooms up there, and I finally found a Jagger bush in Pennsylvania in the way of it scratching the shit out of my ass and legs when I fell down laughing because I said out loud, like, a Jagger bush. Now I know what they mean.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Man, those things are like
Then-
little fucking, like little parasites. They just stick to you and you're
Dude.
just like, what the fuck? Sometimes you don't
I
even
thought
know.
it was like we were in the forest, so I thought that there was like trees and foliage. No, the foliage was all thorns. So
Yeah.
that was fun. I still have some scrapes. Then we headed to DC. The show was sold out. Gabe wasn't with us, so Charlie Bear played drums, and that
Charlie.
was crazy. He saved us by playing drums, but I gotta tell you, Charlie plays drums, at least in our style of music, really slow for us. So it felt like we were playing in slow motion, but that was kind of fun too, because it made me feel like seasick while I was on the stage. It was weird. I would like jump during a song and be like, oh no, I jumped too fast.
Yeah.
But
He
but
said
that
he
show
was
was awesome.
He said he was so nervous. I was like, dude. He was
Oh,
like, dude, I was fucking so rattled. I was like, well, you sounded good, man. He was like, oh, dude, I was like freaking out the whole time.
You sound just like him. No, he totally was. And so then the next day we found out Gabe, he like called us from California and was like, I was about to get on the plane. I was sniffly. I took a test. It looks like it's positive, but it's expired. What should I do? And we're like, we'll go get another test. And he tested positive. So poor Charlie, he was actually seemed great that morning. And then all of a sudden we're like, well, if we're all negative, like you're going to play drums again tonight. And he was like, but alas, some other people in the crew tested positive. So I jumped in the van, drove the crew from DC to Newark. So the ones that weren't sick could get home.
Right.
And went home a day early, and I was sick for 2 days. So were some of the other people who tested negative, but I tested with rapids every day and 2 different PCRs and never tested positive. So I don't know, but like
Fun.
a lot of the supplements I take are the supposed to be the things you take if you're high risk to not get COVID. So I almost
Right.
wonder if it helps. Who knows? I don't think
Yeah.
we know enough about this shit, but yeah. I'm healthy as far as that goes.
Oh, good.
uh,
I'm glad.
yeah, so busy bee. That's a rundown of all the shows. And we went to 2 different tiki bars
I did see that as well. Cool.
and a crazy reggaeton Puerto Rican bar. That shit was nuts.
I bet. Where was it at?
It was
In,
like a secret door. That one was Was that one Boston?
I mean,
Yeah,
that would
I think
make
that
sense.
was Boston after our show. So I was like trying to find something. Yeah, it was Boston. I was trying to find something cool because Gabe and I didn't feel like eating. We just wanted to grab a drink, and we were like walking and everything looks closed. And I'm like, fuck, these directions are wrong. And then we cross the street and I hear like reggaeton and I see this little tiny black door. And we like look, and it's the right address. And we open it up, and it's one of those ones you have to walk upstairs to get into. And it's like, I mean, nobody's dancing in there. It wasn't like a club, but there's like one dude in there that literally looks like the guy who just played Elvis. Like I kept making
Oh,
jokes
yeah.
that it was him drinking himself stupid, realizing he's not Elvis.
Yeah.
And he was like throwing money at the bartender and then splashing the bartender with like water. But then he was getting behind the bar and like trying to make a drink. And these guys were like not having it.
Like you
It
gotta
was just
go,
such
buddy.
a weird scene. And it was like last call too. So, but that was fun. So yeah, we had we had a really weird and good
Well, that's good.
3.5 days. And yeah, the last show we didn't get to play, but I watched it live on Instagram on my couch. So
It's like you were there.
didn't hate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I do love shows, but also sometimes when they're long, like the one we just played, I had anticipated it being much longer than it was because there was 4 bands, which
Oh, that's a lot.
yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah, usually you're like, oh, 4 bands, that's gonna be forever. But I guess also the place we played has a curfew. Yeah. So like by midnight ish, time to get done. And I was like, all right, well, since they know that, they're gonna have to keep this thing kind of moving. But luckily, all the bands played for like 30 minutes tops. So by the time, we headlined, so by the time we got on, it was like, 11 o'clock. I was like, yes. But
That was the one good thing about these shows is they either all had curfews or were early. It was like the first time by like 11:30 we were like done and packing up and like being able to actually go do stuff.
yeah, that was dope. That's always good. And you know how it is headlining. It's like you always want to be like the supports. I mean, not always, but if you're on a bill with a bunch of bands, you're like, want to try and get that support slot because if it gets too late, people are like, I'm old, and everyone's old now. So they're like, I'm going to go home. I'm too drunk or I'm just tired. And you're like, no.
Yeah, but then it sucks if you're like not a headliner level and you play with a headliner like that wants to play before you and you're like, I don't really, do you really want to do that? Like, I don't...
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you sure?
But luckily
We
everything worked
definitely
out.
played those where I was like, great. We're gonna play it our fucking selves now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Not
never
that that's
fun.
bad either, because
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Fun is
play
fun.
To nobody.
Exactly. But I was able to get tipped with my strip tease moves. So that's always fun.
Oh, you got tipped?
Oh, yeah. By some dudes, which that's usually who I get tipped by
Nice.
when I start shaking my bits and pieces. So that was fun.
I mean, take it how you can get it.
Hey, that's what I said. $10, 2 5s. I was all right with that. But no, that was cool. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty much all the band stuff. I think we
I joined
covered.
the gym today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How's that going?
I mean, I just joined today. I haven't actually like gone yet. I'm going
I just signed the
tomorrow.
papers. Well,
Yeah,
good.
but I was like, I paid for a full year because I was like, just it's the cheapest way to do it. Here's an entire year's worth of my fucking money. Take it.
That way,
And if
you'll
I
go.
don't have a beach body in 3 weeks, I'm burning the place down.
Working out
That's
at
how
home.
it works, right?
Yeah, I will support that. But yeah, working out at home is awesome. Like even if you don't have all the stuff, but
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot more room to be like, you know what? I don't feel like tossing weights around today. I'll do it tomorrow or whatever. But when you pay money to
Oh,
go
for
somewhere,
sure.
you're like, I better go because I just paid this fucking money. So
I'm like a classes person because it makes me commit to the full hour.
Mhm.
And especially the ones that, we'll do in between the weight training and interval stuff.
Right.
So that's mainly because it's a pretty cheap gym, but they have a lot of classes and they have some that are like at 8 and 9, which is better. Some of the other places I looked at, it was like 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning, which I'm not gonna fucking do.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just not ever gonna be me. But I do the kettlebells at home and I'm good with that. Like kettlebells and yoga, I'll do at home and put on a video. But like for some of the more intensive stuff, I work better in a class environment because I won't puss out. It's
Right.
like once I get in that door, I'm not going to leave halfway through and be like, this is boring. It's like it gets competitive and
Right.
like even if you're competing against yourself. So
And you don't want to be that person that's like leaving and everyone else is like, oh shit, they couldn't hack it. You're like, I'm gonna fucking make it through this
no,
goddamn
totally.
class.
Yeah, I'll push
Yeah.
through even if I'm like passing out. So and yeah, I don't know if you've seen Charlie and Dom lately, but they've all like lost a ton of weight and are getting in shape. So
Yeah.
my competitive nature's coming out and
You're like, oh,
yeah, it's on. I'm just gonna like if I've just been worried. I don't want to do cardio because I don't want my boobs to go away.
yeah.
I
Just
spent my whole life not having them, and then in my 30s, I finally got them. So that like I want to do strength training stuff to try to get in shape and not just cardio because I don't want to
yeah.
lose
Plus,
the shape of my body.
if you start doing a lot of cardio, a lot of the times you end up burning muscle too. So it's like you don't want to just be
For sure.
deflated, which a lot of people they're like, I'm going to lose weight and just do a bunch of cardio. It's like, well, that's not going to work. I mean,
And they
you'll
look like
lose
saggy
weight.
pants afterwards.
Exactly. Like you got to build your muscle. Building muscle is the best way to do that stuff. So you don't look like a, deflated balloon. But,
Yeah. Nope.
speaking
Yeah.
of band stuff, I'm sure this has happened to you before because it happened to me Saturday night. So, and I know you're always on your shit, at least most of the time, as am I. But you ever
Always on most
Always.
of the time. Okay. That sounds
So-
like a Courtneyism.
isn't it always fun when you're going into a song and you're like, something does not sound right. And you're trying to look around to see who's playing something wrong. And then when you ask someone at the
Yeah.
end, They're like, oh no, I was playing it right. And you're like, well, somebody's fucking lying because I know I wasn't playing it wrong or doing something
Yeah.
wrong, but something sounded weird. Yeah, that happened. That happened to
Oh,
me.
it happened to us too.
Yeah. I was like, what? Like we started off I told the drummer AJ, I was like, you could speed it up a little bit because it's like an eighth note old blues song. We play it like kind of groovy and aggressive,
Mhm.
but I was like, speed it up a little bit because it's a cover of a cover. But anyway, so he just goes. So that's not the bad part, but there was something that was just like super off, and I start singing, and I'm like, I'm super out of key. I'm like, what the fuck? I know, like, I'm not singing it wrong because I've been singing this particular cover for like 15 years. I'm like, I know this song inside and out. I'm not doing this wrong. Who the fuck is playing this wrong? And then, of course, after it, I was like, were you doing something wrong? Or were you playing like a wrong chord? And everyone's like, no, I don't know. And then I asked AJ,
really?
the drummer, I was like, dude, did you hear something weird in the beginning of the song? He's like, yeah, someone was off doing something. I was like, all right, I'm not fucking crazy, but
Yeah, I did the biggest asshole thing one time. So like when the band got back together and Kate was first practicing, there was like a song or two we adjusted the keys on.
Mhm.
And like one, I'll just say like I'm a lazy bitch with that stuff. Two, one of the songs is one of the songs like we wrote when I was like 17. And it was like the way I've always played it.
right.
Three, like I'm really not a fucking active musician. I used to have theory and be able to be like, yeah, I'll switch the key, whatever. Like I'm not now. I literally practice to do like what I have to.
Right.
And that's my skill set.
Yeah.
I know I could be better, but I'm choosing not to be. So, and I have a fucking keyboard. So I was like, great, I'm just going to create a sound that's a step down.
Mm-hmm.
And then that sound is only for this song. And I do that. So like through the course of the beginning of the band, keyboards kept getting broken because they were from the fucking 90s. I was playing these like vintage ones. And so I had one out here and one in California, and one of them had that sound set. The other one, I had to actually shift it down every time I went to it.
Right.
And so of course we're like, I forget the show, but it's like fucking one of the ones that's super packed and we're like nailing everything. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And I'm getting drunk on stage. And we go to hit this song, Not Forever, which is like a fan favorite. And it starts out with like Andy doing this picked guitar riff. And then my organ's just like church style coming in, holding long notes. Yeah, so I didn't key down because I thought it was the keyboard that did it automatically.
Mhm.
And there's videos of this on YouTube. So Andy starts playing, and then I come in and I hit the note, and it just sounds awful. And I immediately just look over, like in slow motion with like death stare, and look at him. And you can see me mouth in the video, like, did you tune? And like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm tuned. This is right. And I like hit the next chord, and it's just fucking awful. And I'm like, I don't think so. And as I'm saying, like, I don't think so, I'm like, oh, I'm like, dude. And then it shifts into key. And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, I am such a fucking dick. And then, of course, we're done playing. And like, we're backstage, and everyone's like, Andy, what were you doing on Not Forever? And he's like, I was right. And I'm like, dude, it was 100% me. And Dom's like, oh, I thought you had to like adjust the key again to match Andy. And I'm like, no. And he's like, because my shit sounded off too. And I'm like, no, I think you were just out of tune. But it was great.
Yeah, there was one time we went back east, and the drummer we had at the moment that we had like planned to go back ended up just bailing because he had some substance abuse issues, which we never knew about. Like he always had it together with us, and we played some
fun.
shows. Yeah. And
that's always fun.
Super nice guy. And then probably about like a month or two before we were like supposed to leave, he's like, dude, I can't play anymore. Like, whatever. We're like, fuck, that sucks, but hopefully you get the help you need and all that shit. Anyway, so we got my old guitar player that moved out here with us with the band, but before he played guitar, he played drums for a few years for us, and he's a real good drummer. So I hit him up. I was like, hey dude, can you fill in we're only going to end up doing like 4 shows. So can you? He was like, cool. One of them was in Cleveland, and Cleveland is like an hour and a half away from Pittsburgh. So it's
Right.
like not a big deal. Anyway, we go there and get like one practice in and go to, I don't know if you've ever been to the Spitfire in Cleveland. It's not there anymore, but it was this cool little like dive bar, had a skate ramp in it, had like
I
on
actually
stage.
don't think I've ever been to Cleveland.
There's some cool stuff. I mean, I wouldn't, Cleveland is Cleveland. I wouldn't be like, go to Cleveland, but
Sure.
they have some cool things in Cleveland. Anyway, like the stage had like a gate around it, like a fence, like Blues Brothers type deal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Anyway,
Oh,
so
wait, I did.
you might have, yeah, you might have
Sounds
seen pictures.
familiar.
I mean, it was like a pretty popular little punk
Right.
venue. But anyway, so we're playing, and my rhythm guitar player is like shit faced or getting shit faced. And like if you're in a band, and even if you're a little off, even if you're completely sober, if you get kind of like hemmed up on a song, and you like fall behind or start playing the wrong notes or the wrong chords, like you get way behind and can't even fucking catch up. So he's playing something, but he's like super drunk, and it's like halfway through the song, and I just keep doing that same old death stare that you were giving Andy. I'm like looking at him like, dude, what the fuck? You're playing it wrong. And I'm just fucking just mad dogging him. And he's drunk, so he's kind of like, I don't understand like what's going on. I'm playing whatever. I'm playing it right. And I had to physically go over and like fucking grab the neck of his guitar and was just like, stop playing, because he was just so behind and so not playing anything right, and he couldn't catch up in the song, and he just quit for the rest of the song, and then got back into it the following songs, and everything was like all right. But I was like, Jesus, it was like a fucking train wreck. Like he started playing it wrong, and then he just couldn't catch up to the right chord or the right spot, and it was just getting worse. I just had to put a complete stop to it. I'm like, we'll go without the second guitar for the rest of the song, because this is getting fucking insane. And then everything turned out all right. But
You see, for the first time ever, we just didn't finish the song. One song, we missed the entire breakdown. And like, Kate's looking at me and I'm like, just follow what everyone else is doing. And then, so because of that, and Charlie was nervous, then other people got nervous after we missed the breakdown on something.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next song, we just got to a part, and every single fucking person in the band played a different transition into a different part.
Yeah.
And it was like the song was like kind of a train going off the tracks, but it was like staying on, and it was fine. It was rough, but like the crowd was so great that night. Like, thank God.
Yeah.
Like, people are into it. And then we get to this like climatic part where like the music stops, and like, Kate sings like by herself.
Mm-hmm.
And then like we come back in, and then the next part, everybody plays this louder part, and we all just played like the wrong part, and it just sounded like this wall of like, noise, like something that you would hear, like, to explain it, like, let's just say you were in like a 1950s suburb on like a Sunday and everyone's playing. This would be the noise the government would like play over loudspeakers to make everybody go like catatonic. So we did that, and it was so bad that we were like, okay, so we're just not going to finish. We're done with this song.
Yep.
And then like we made it through and like got our groove. And then we fucking play a song that is one we played forever and we know so well. And poor Kate, it was crazy. The first time we ever played with her, she messed up a part of Take the Reins. And we all like, we're just all so in our head after the mistakes we did. She actually made the exact same mistake she made the first time we ever played together, like 8 years ago on that song. And we just like stopped it and we're like, we're going to start over. And I just told the crowd, I was like, in my history of this band, we've never not finished playing a song or restarted a song. So you guys are getting like a real special show. But it was crazy. They were like into it. People were crowd surfing, like they were going nuts. But like definitely some people left. So I'm sure they're like, fuck this band, the old school.
Yeah.
The other lineup was way better, which like I don't care, because maybe they were more talented than me, but they aren't as funny.
Fucking right.
Or nice. or mean
awesome
or
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's like catching up with this band stuff.
Yeah, band stuff. I've definitely been there where we've stopped a song. Luckily for like the majority of the existence of the band, because originally we were a 4-piece. And then when I moved out here, we evolved into a 5-piece, added a rhythm guitar player. So ever since then, it's been kind of like easy to hide mistakes because it just gets so loud. But this time, well, I don't think anyone in the crowd even noticed because, again, by 11 o'clock, everyone was drunk and just like ready to fucking just party and get down. Yeah. But we only had
it's a great scene that we're involved in because of that. Like, we are totally allowed to be like, we just fucked that up. And people are like, get another beer. And we're like, yes, you guys should all get 6 more beers and drink them before our next song.
Yeah,
it will sound way better.
I mean, it wasn't too bad. Our rhythm guitar player couldn't make that show because he already had some other stuff booked, like he had to take care of before the show came up. And I was just like, you're a rhythm guitar player. We can handle it, whatever. So it still probably wasn't noticeable to anyone in the audience but us. But yeah, there's been shows where it's like, oh my God, if you're like a 4-piece, like I said, it's when something drops out, when like a guitar drops out, you're like, oh shit, like everything drops out, or like the bass. If you're a 4-piece, you're like, something something went wrong. But that's what is fun about rock and roll and punk rock. You get to just be a fucking mess sometimes, and people accept it, and some people actually prefer it.
Yes.
So
yeah, they do. Yeah, it's entertaining for them. They're like, I mean, after that show, everyone was just like, that was so entertaining. And I'm like, yep. Dance, puppet dance.
Anyway, band talk is over. Let's get into some more news. What do you got, Oobliette?
Yeah. So, I got 2 things. We mentioned Long Legs on one of the episodes, which is the new Nicolas Cage horror movie that's coming. Which is funny because I don't remember them saying it was like a full horror, but maybe they did. I knew it was a serial killer movie. But it officially received an R rating for bloody violence, disturbing images, and some language. But for those, I don't remember if we went through the whole synopsis, but Nicolas Cage is the serial killer in it.
Naturally.
And it's about, no, of course he needs to be, but it's about a FBI agent is gifted a new recruit assigned to the unsolved case of an elusive killer. As the case takes complex turns, unearthing evidence of the occult. Yeah. Parker discovers a personal connection to the merciless killer and must race against time to stop him before he claims the life of another innocent family. No, it does not sound that original, but Cage is a producer. And it's being done by his production company. So you know that shit's going to be crazy, and you know he went method for it. So if anybody sees Nicolas Cage out and about, I would be worried because he is completely channeling a serial killer, probably still, and you should not engage.
Oh, this movie has like all of Cage all over it. Complete. He's like complete control, producer, my production company. I'm in it.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
So it's going to be a cage movie.
Sounds like it.
And I mean, he's been on like a roll lately, so I'm not gonna pass any judgment until I see it, because who the fuck knows? This fucking guy keeps surprising me, and I hate to say it. I started this podcast saying I never wanted to see another one of his movies, and I fucking hate him, and now I've gotten soft, man. Cage has broken me.
Same. I think we all did. Like, fuck this guy.
We're changed people.
But maybe, just maybe, he does listen.
That makes us hate him again.
No, maybe he does listen, and he's like, you know what? I should find my groove and do something that's better than all the garbage I have done. And I think he's found his groove in like creepy, spoofy, ridiculous horror movies. So as long as he keeps making entertaining stuff like that, I'm down for it.
Same.
something I never thought I'd say, but
Same.
No,
I was so annoyed the first Cage we did. I was like, oh, I'm like agreeing to do this podcast possibly as like a part-time host occasionally, and now we have to do Cage stuff. Like I don't think I can mentally take that. And now I hate to say it, looking forward to the next Cage movie.
Yeah, because it'll at least be. Here's the thing: it'll always be entertaining, whether it's in a good way or a bad way.
True.
So
he's evolved to a whole new level of like egotism.
Right.
So like, but he's also performing, and I don't know. It's an interesting world we live in right now.
Well, it's a funny thing that you said that, because maybe that's why his movies have gotten so much more entertaining. Is before he was just kind of like a weird egomaniac, but now he's like a complete megalomaniac, and he's just insane and ridiculous. And you're like, yeah, this makes sense. This is entertaining. Not when you're just being like a weird, creepy, I'm going to marry Lisa Marie because I love Elvis and Superman. Be all weird and creepy. But now he's just, I'm drunk in Vegas in the fucking lobby and being weird and crazy. You're like, yes, this is acceptable behavior, not the other weird shit.
Yeah.
So, well, guess we'll be doing long legs.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So the other one, well, there's a small one, I guess, we talked about before. There's a prequel to Pet Sematary. It's like coming out like now.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't heard anything, and now all of a sudden it's like now it's straight to streaming, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll watch it, but I don't know, man. It's funny that that comic, what's his name, Matt Rife?
Yes.
Okay, so he was just on a podcast. He was just on
He's
that.
like the half cutest and most aggravating person in the world.
Yeah, he is weird looking,
I don't know
but
if I want to like break his fucking nose or give him a big kiss.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because like there's a lot of chicks, or just like a lot of internet stuff. There's like, he's so hot, and I'm like, he's kind of goofy looking, but he's in shape. Shiny. Yeah, very smooth. Very smooth.
Looks like a doll, like Pinocchio doll, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But he was on.
I don't even know if he's real. Actually, do you think maybe he's not?
I mean, we are. Aliens in Mexican Congress. Who fucking knows what's going on?
Mm-hmm. I think he's a plant.
Yeah, could be. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I was listening to him, and he was saying something about like every reading he goes in for like a script for a TV show or a movie. He's like, every single one is like, so what are we going to reboot? We're going to reboot this movie, or we're going to reboot this other movie. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. He's like, that's all it is anymore. It's just, they're just redoing all this old stuff and all these old movies. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. So that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. I don't need to watch that Pet Sematary gimmick, but I mean, I probably will, just so I can comment on it and kind of know what I'm talking about.
Smart.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
So my last one was, I thought that they had completely killed kind of the DC dark stuff.
Right.
But apparently the sequel to Brightburn is in production.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
James Gunn doing it. Like, I mean, that movie got a lot of shit. I didn't hate it. I definitely didn't think it was a horror movie. A bunch of people were like, it's fucking scary. And I watched it, and it's not. No, it wasn't scary, but I thought it was fine. It was better than I thought it would be. Much better than the fucking Invisible Man, which was like, oh. But I did like at the end that it had the teaser that there were like Aquaman and some other evil stuff. So and I like James Gunn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I was like, that could be cool. I did enjoy the first one. I thought the whole like, he's an evil Superman basically, and it was super gory. I was like, I was into that. Yeah, as far as like the story, I didn't think it was terrible either. The actors, I didn't think were bad. So, I mean, I couldn't imagine it being any worse than the first one.
Oh yeah.
So, hopefully it'll be cool. All right. Well, I got one little thing. Actually, maybe two. I'll start off with, as we were talking, it'll be the second episode that has come out, but Chiller Theater is back on the air in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The old Chili Billy's old horror movie show on Saturday nights is back. I think, and they're doing, like an 8-episode run. So that's cool. If you're not in Pittsburgh, you can actually download it's on WPXI is the channel, which is channel 11 back there. But if you go on to your app store, you can actually download WPXI Now as the app. And it's mostly weather and just some other random like local crime shows or whatever. But they do air this, and it airs Saturday nights at 11:30 there. So if you're on the West Coast, that's 8:30. And I actually was able to catch the replay of the first episode, and it's cool. It's a little different, it's not exactly like the Bill Cardille one, the Chili Billy. The announcer or not the announcer, but the host of the show is a little more straight and not as goofy, but he, does little one-liners and discusses certain aspects of the movie or fun facts of the movie. So that was fun. So I'm like, all right, I'm glad you guys are getting it back. But yeah, so if you're interested, check it out. It was definitely entertaining. I think when this episode airs, the last one they would have shown was The Terror, the Boris Karloff one. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that was funny. And it's the one thing I really liked about it is the host isn't trying to be like a personality or like a character, like a lot of late night horror show hosts are, which isn't a bad thing. Like, I mean, I love Joe Bob. I mean, Joe Bob's that's a little more him, but Svengoolie, like stuff like that. Like, I like that too. But in the fucking era of like, everybody wants to be a fucking influencer. Everyone wants to create this like persona to get attention. It's like cool to see someone. That's why we're awesome. Cause we're just like, we just shoot the shit. We are who we are. We just happen to be awesome. And that's who we are.
Yep.
But yeah, he was just, like, like just straightforward and just kind of, a little bit of dry humor here and there. And I appreciated that more so than like having whatever host on there just be completely ridiculous or obnoxious to be entertaining. So if you get a chance, check it out. And I may be back in Pittsburgh for Halloween, possibly. So I wonder if they'll do a special episode Halloween, because that's what they used to do back home. They'd play Night of the Living Dead for Halloween. So I wonder if they'll do that as well. If so, that'll be dope. It'll be like a good old tradition. But there's that.
Cool tradition.
Yeah. And there's something else I wanted to talk about, but I forget what it was. Well, I did get to see They Live and Christine in the movies, and that was pretty dope.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Fathom Events doing their gimmick. Oh, yeah. There was The Exorcist is coming back for
Oh, I did see that today.
Yeah.
Around the time as the new one, right?
Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing about, I don't know what print they had for They Live, but it was like crystal clear. Like it looked like a new movie, like super clean,
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was pretty impressed by that. And Christine's always good. It's always funny to sit, and this happened with King Kong. A lot of the dialogue probably isn't the best for today's day and age. So people who aren't familiar with the movie going and see it, like they're like, oh my God, did they say that? And there's some stuff in Christine where the dialogue it's pretty not acceptable for now. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I laughed, and there's other older people in there that are like, but yeah, it's funny to hear the gasps from some people, or even people that saw the movie. Now they're just too fucking tight to be able to be like, oh yeah, I mean, it was a different time, so I shouldn't be all fucking weird about it. But they're like,
I mean, you watch Revenge of the Nerds. He basically rapes that girl on Halloween.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But when you watch it, it's just like the cute nerd gets laid because she doesn't know who she's sleeping with.
Yeah, he gets back at the popular chick who embarrassed him along with the other bullies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gets back at her by having sex with her anonymously.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Like that never, even as a kid, that never struck me as weird or different. And then I saw somebody comment about it and was like, did that happen? I rewatched it and was like, I mean, man, they do this in a really playful way, but yep, that's pretty much cool.
Well, because by that time you're so like on the side of the people that were getting bullied the whole movie that you're like, that's what you get, you fucking piece of shit.
Yep.
So they did a good job at that. You're like,
and then she ends up liking him. So it's like, It's hard to be like, oh, that's wrong. And it's like a bait and switch rape, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, hey, that nerd.
It's still sexual assault.
Fucking.
Not a good look for the nerds in normal times. But that whole movie, after that, I watched that and I watched them all again. And actually all the police academies. And I was like, yep, none of this would fly. None of this would fly at all. People would be fucking like burning down buildings if this shit came out. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it'd be bad.
Porkies.
It would be bad.
Where he sticks his dick in the fucking the hole.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Bachelors. What was it? Bachelor party? With the hot dog.
What about all the movies that people romanticize now, but I think they haven't watched in a while, like fucking Staying Alive or any John Travolta movie?
Yeah.
Like he literally likes cheating on everyone he dates and beating the fuck out of them. In like every movie, people are like, "Oh, the movie's a great soundtrack." Or
yeah.
What's the country western one?
Rhinestone Cowboy was Sylvester Stallone, right? Or was that John Travolta?
Yeah. No, everybody has like the Bud and Sissy tattoos, and I'm like, did you watch that movie? He like knocks the shit out of her.
Yeah, but you know.
But that was back when women needed to learn.
That's right. Sometimes you got a strong arm.
Urban Cowboy. Yeah. And like, Staying Alive, like the whole Disco Fever thing, both of those movies. I don't know if you guys have watched those lately, kids, but watch them. They are depressing as fuck. There's a couple fun dance scenes and a cool soundtrack, but those movies are not happy movies. It's like thinking Scarface is a happy movie. But for some reason, like the poster and everything, it's like nostalgic. People are like, fuck yeah. And I'm like, have you seen it?
Hey,
he's seen it.
He's just Italian. What are you gonna do? That's how Italians are. Hey, why I ought to give you a knuckle sandwich? Oh, yeah, the good old days. Urban Cowboy. That had Rhinestone Cowboy in it, right? The song, like a rhinestone cowboy.
Cowboy. Yep.
Funny.
Yes.
Well. All right, that hour's worth of band stuff and a little bit of horror news.
All right, guys, we missed each other. We haven't talked in like a week and a half on podcast talk.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's been
horror news. And honestly, we're probably not going to spend that much time on this movie. So
probably not. Yeah. So Cobweb. Samuel Bodin. Let's see what the synopsis is all about.
You want me to read it? I got it up if you want me to read it.
Sure.
It's something.
I mean, is yours long? Because this one, the IMDb one's super short.
It's 2 sentences.
Oh, okay.
But one's definitely like a run-on sentence.
Right.
Young Peter is plagued by mysterious, constant noise from inside his bedroom wall. A tapping that his parents insist is in his imagination. As his fear intensifies, he starts to believe that his parents are hiding a terrible and dangerous secret.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Did you read about their inspiration for this?
No, I try not to get too deep into movies.
Like IMDb gives the trivia, and I always look at it, and there were only 2 things for this, and one was, so this is by Seth Rogen. And it also has Lizzie Kaplan and Anthony Starr. Anthony Starr plays Homelander in The Boys, if you guys have watched it, which is one of the best fucking shows ever. Lizzie Kaplan is hilarious. Seth Rogen's pretty funny, too. There's not an ounce of comedy in this film.
No.
I thought it was going to be like Mom and Dad, and like they were going to let Anthony Starr and Lizzie Kaplan be these like darkly humorous people. No.
Yeah, Lizzie Kaplan was... No. She was creepy. I liked, like, she was crazy. It gave me a very Baby Jane type
Oh, totally.
feel, you know? She's like,
He's
no
looking for
more.
that parakeet.
Yeah.
No, I think they did great in it. They're great. They are
Yeah.
great actors.
They're the best
But
part,
I
for sure.
do feel like there is something missed by not adding, like, even if it wasn't like ha ha funny comedy,
Mm-hmm.
like some comedically timed, really dark moments.
Yeah.
Because some of that stuff is some of the scariest to me in
Totally.
movies when you have these like maniacal characters. And Anthony Starr and Lizzie Kaplan are both maniacal, like in their look and their mannerisms. Like it could have been way scarier.
It definitely could have been. Do you want to start with the things we didn't like about it, or things
Oh
we
wait,
liked about it?
hold on. What it was
Okay.
based on?
Oh yeah.
It's based on the Telltale Heart,
Oh really?
which is fucking bullshit. Other than the knocking on the wall, it makes no sense. Telltale Heart, the narrator, like, is talking about his neighbor. He ends up killing him and hears the heartbeat because of his guilt, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what the fuck does that have to do other than a knocking on the wall?
Yeah. I would have never
It's
put
a reach.
those two together.
It's a fucking reach.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen smokes too much fucking pot. That is what that is.
Yep.
He was fucking like smoking weed, listening to like an audiobook of the Telltale Heart, and was like, like,
Yeah. His
I got an
gross laugh.
idea. He's like, yeah. It's like a spitty bear laugh.
There's a I don't know if it's like a TikTok thing or just a clip of just different clips of together of him laughing, and it's just so fucking gross. Like, you're just like, spit it out. God.
I know.
Ugh.
No, you know he's like texting Anthony Starr, like, man, I got an idea. You owe me one.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get
But
that
yeah,
at all.
so no, me neither. As like a real Edgar Allan Poe fan who believes that you could actually just take the stories and make another adaptation and not like
Right.
take a knocking sound or turn a beating sound into a knocking sound and saying that was your inspiration.
Yeah.
Like, fucking whatever, bro. Get out of space.
An entire story around one really specific aspect of
Yeah.
a poem or a
He must
fucking
have been in
story.
Mexican Congress today with the aliens. Seth Rogen needs to get his head out of the fucking clouds with this shit. Like, it's
Yeah.
not.
I agree.
And also if he thinks that he's qualified as his first horror movie to do an Edgar Allan Poe thing, like, maybe you should start smaller there, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's just not go there yet.
No.
Let's wait and make sure you can do it first before you like just fucking cream a masterpiece. But whatever. Who knows?
Yeah. Like, what the fuck are you choking on, bro? Let's do the likes first, because the didn't likes is way long,
Okay.
at least for me. Do you want to go first with the likes?
Yeah, I'll tell you something that I just found out. Well, first, I would like to say something I don't like about society or human bodies. And that's that, like, men being able to have kids at like 80 years old is fucked up. Like Robert De Niro and like Pacino having infants right now is fucking
Yeah.
crazy. But so if you guys watch this movie, there's this blonde-haired kid that's a super asshole,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like a bully. He ends up getting his leg broken in this movie and comes back with his friends to cause some chaos. That little fucker is the son. Do you know who it is?
No.
Oh, it's a good one. It is the fucking son of Gary Busey.
Jesus. What?
Yep. Look that shit up.
Luke
my
Busey.
jaw dropped, and I'm like, no, it's his grandson. It's definitely his grandson. No, it's
Oh my
his
God,
fucking
it
son.
is.
This guy has been having kids over the course of like 36 fucking years. There should be laws against that. I'm sorry, men, but like, you should not be having babies over decades like that. That's not okay. It's just not.
No. But
It's wrong.
who is the woman that let
I didn't look that up because I don't
Crazy
wanna-
Busey stick his dick in her and drop
That's
some
what I
loads?
mean.
Like, first of
The
all,
fact
I mean,
the fact
how
that
old?
this kid could memorize any lines, let alone
Yeah.
like even like form words, to me is impressive.
I mean, how old? He's what? He's got to be anywhere between
Like
11
10 or
and
something.
13, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Right.
Ugh.
Gross.
And that's definitely within the time frame when Gary Busey was still insane.
Totally. He's been insane for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
15
Ugh.
solid, like, should have been locked up.
Yeah. But seriously, can you imagine? Can you imagine being like, you know what? No. Can you personally imagine letting Crazy Busey?
No, don't say it. No, don't say it. No,
Fucking put his dick in you.
That. No,
Oh my
the fact
God.
that he has a penis is gross. Like, I feel like him and the Nuge went camping and cut theirs off together years ago.
Oh my God.
This is like some like weird robotic Scientology shit. There's no way he actually performed to create that child. It had to have been
had to be
some kind of extraction. I mean, otherwise that's just nightmare. That's a horror movie.
Yeah.
That is a fucking horror movie. But yeah, so the thing I liked the most about this movie is finding that out, because that shit is just terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrifying. Like, I feel like I should call Child Protective Services and be like, do you guys know Gary Busey has like a preteen son? Because if you don't, it should be on your radar, because the kid probably like wakes up and is getting ready for school and Gary Busey's like pulling bologna off a burner and throwing it on his face.
Who fucking knows? Or just talking to
like
himself
peeing
loud
on
as
him,
fuck.
or like, I don't know, picking him up and throwing him into piles of mud. I don't know. It's Busey. It's something.
Yeah. You never know.
Put him in the fireplace.
Yeah. Every day would be like, oh my God, what the fuck is dad going to do?
Could you imagine? I hope he doesn't live in a house alone with him. That would be like, I mean, I couldn't do that. And I would be terrified, and I'm not a child.
I hope he doesn't live with him. I hope they're separated, because that would be insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I couldn't believe it. That's
definitely something good about this movie. Yeah.
And good thing he's in show business too, because that's a great place for children. So
yeah,
especially when you have crazy parents. Let's just add the fuck up on top of fuck up.
How much more
everything?
How much more fucked up can you get, though?
I mean, they could like buy him they could adopt a kid from China to be his sister, but then marry them. That sounds like something Busey would do.
He probably wouldn't even phase him. He'd probably just be like, whatever, Dad.
Or
he's
possibly Busey might bring him to the Mexican Congress next week, claiming he has an alien.
Maybe. It'd be hilarious, though.
That could be something.
Oh, shit. Yeah, well, kudos for finding that out.
I mean, that's the most entertaining thing definitely. So things I liked. I liked the cinematography. I liked the lighting. I liked that most of the stuff was just kind of like dark bluish, like just the way it looked. I love the character acting of Anthony Starr and Lizzie Kaplan. Their facial expressions, they are both really great. Lizzie's great at these grand expressions that still seem fitting for that type of character. She plays like a kind of almost religious-y feeling overprotective mom in like the best possible way, and responds so well with the teacher kind of trying to come to her to talk about the kids' problems. Anthony Starr perfectly plays a dad that at any point could beat the shit out of you. And like he plays Homelander. Dad, he does, but a little toned down. But like, I mean, I think if you didn't have that dad, you definitely met that dad at your friend's house, where like you come in and he's super cool, but then the kid does something maybe slightly off and immediately like corrects it, because you can just tell that dad would probably knock the shit out of him had they known. It's like he's likable enough yet terrifying. And the woman who played the teacher was fine. And the kid was good. Like the acting was good. I won't get into the stuff that didn't make sense quite yet. but yeah, I liked the first 3/4 of the movie. Yeah. And really wanted to see where it went, and thought it was really building into something awesome. And then I got Boogeyman Barbarian.
Yeah. That's exactly it. I agree with everything you said. I like that it was kind of uncomfortable, like the whole time until that last quarter. But like leading up to that, the household, everything about it, you're like, ugh, God, these parents are fucking, So that was cool. I did like it wasn't like a long movie. It was like fun to watch in general. It was depending on which story.
It's hard to talk about what we like and not give away what we don't like.
Depending on which story, since it seems like there's a number of them floating through this movie.
Well, I also like that they kind of almost set up in a way where you thought Lizzie Kaplan might just be the protective one and Anthony Starr was doing something fucking crazy in the basement to the kid.
Mhm.
Like that's where I thought it was going to go. Or I thought they were going to flip it and her be the crazy one, like maybe doing crazy shit to the kid. And he was just like wanted to keep people away.
Yeah. Regardless
that wasn't the case.
Yeah. Regardless of how the movie turned out or the inconsistent type storylines that they were kind of thrown in there, they did make it simple, which is weird. It's a simple, but
it's very linear.
Yeah.
Despite not making sense. There's not a lot of scenes that take you away from the main storyline.
Right.
Like it's
right.
one storyline.
Yeah. With multiple stories. It's like a simulation.
Or no story.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I mean, that was in the acting. I like the acting.
Oh, this is it. So in school, I don't know if you guys ever had to be like in a creative writing class or in one of those situations where it's a game where one person starts telling a story and then the next person has to start where you ended off.
Right. Yeah.
That is fucking this movie.
Yes.
And it's that feeling. Like every time I did one of those in school, there'd be a part where you were like, man, we're jiving. This is going somewhere. Like we're awesome. And then there's that one punk ass fucking kid across from you that's smiling. And you're like, oh, I don't want the story to get to him. I do
and then
not
the
want
spider
it to
lady comes out of the wall.
Somebody
like,
in this story before it gets to Jimmy, because if Jimmy gets it, it's going to be crazy. And then, Jimmy gets it and is like, and then there was a bomb and everyone died, but then they came back to life, but they loved bananas. So everyone ate bananas, the end. And you're like, dude, fucking Jimmy. Like,
that was my biggest pet peeve of this fucking movie is like,
oh, dude, of course I convinced my husband to watch it with me too. I have the worst with having him watch stuff with me.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and was like, thank you for that. And I'm like, I'm just not sorry. That's all I could say.
Dude, like you were saying, like the first 3/4, I'm like, okay, they're obviously crazy parents. The kid finds a skull in the thing because the voice in the wall is telling him to go look for it.
The skull part. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, all right, his sister is, I thought it was like a, what was the fucking thing with the grabber, the movie?
The Black Phone.
Yeah, Black Phone. It gave me that kind of vibe. I'm like, okay, that's what we're doing here. I was like, whatever, that's fine. And the parents are just going to turn out to be like complete fucking psycho serial killers. I'm like, that's cool. I like, as characters, I like the parents. I'm like, they're fucking weird and creepy and I'm into it. It's cool. And then it turns to not be that. Well, I mean, not serial killers. They did murder somebody. Spoiler alert. But
you know who wrote it, right?
Well, it says here,
who wrote 2022's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, Chris Thomas Devlin. Jesus Christ.
Let me tell you, he is just such a talented guy. He's very smart. So smart. So smart.
Dude, you gave the perfect analogy. That's like what these movies are now.
I have a name for it. It is the House of a Thousand Corpses effect.
Yeah.
Where you're like, let's make a movie that grabs people in, and people are like, throwing back to some old school stuff, like interesting characters. I like where this is going. And then you're like, what the fuck?
Yep.
Why are we in a tunnel with Dr. Satan? Who the fuck is, like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, dude.
There is a Dr. Satan in all these movies. And why? Why?
Right.
You don't need Dr. Satan.
It's like taking a story.
I'm going to make a shirt that says nobody needs Dr. Satan. I'm going to pay for a booth at every horror convention and all the fucking film festivals of horror. And it's going to be me there with my sign. And I'm going to want to talk to writers and directors and tell them that you don't need a Dr. Satan. Dr. Satan can be implied. It can be a character that you never have to see.
Right.
You don't need to see him.
Well,
you don't need this dumbass story because it makes no sense.
It's like they took like a foreign film or like Japanese horror film or a Korean horror film, the ones that like don't make sense, but they're not supposed to kind of make sense. So if you try and translate that verbatim into English, like it's really not going to make sense because different culture and everything.
Like The Tale of Two Sisters.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Okay. So spoiler alert, turn it off if you don't want to hear this. All right. So the voice in the wall ends up being his living sister that I guess was born all weird and deformed, that they decided to hide away in the walls. Okay. So she ends up.
Wait, so she's in the walls, but then they also dig a hole in the basement and a pit and put her in the cage, but yet somehow she lives in both of those. So
right.
On.
And then somehow she waited 9 years, 10 years to start speaking.
And her hair is like supernatural too.
Right.
Her hair just like moves like that stupid fucking superhero.
Yeah. Poison Ivy.
That Marvel one that tanked. Poison Ivy too.
Yeah. That dude, the supernatural thing. I'm like, wait, is she supernatural? Because
and she can use her jaws to rip people's limbs apart. So obviously,
and she can close and open doors.
Claws.
And she's super strong. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, well, if she can literally rip people apart and do all this supernatural shit, why couldn't she have just gotten out way before now? Why'd she need her little fucking brother for any of this?
Mm-hmm.
And like the doctors wouldn't have been like, what the fuck is this thing? They're just like, oh, here's your, and not even like deformed, like, here's your monster kid. And they're just like, oh, gonna stick her in the walls. Like none of that shit made sense to me.
So I have to ask you this. The girl, so they won't let their son go trick-or-treating because a kid went missing on Halloween.
Right.
I want to ask you, what did you think happened to the kid after the movie?
Well,
because I thought the sister killed the kid and that's why the parents locked her away.
Well,
what did you think?
She says what happens, but it's such a small and forgettable.
She was lying.
She could have been lying, but even if she wasn't,
I got that too. But I thought that was her trying to get the kid to trust her.
Could be,
because she's like, "Oh, your parents killed this kid."
Yeah, could be. But that part is such a small, like, insignificant part in the movie that I forgot about it the first time I watched it, and then I'm like, today.
That's the only side story that makes no sense because like that in the beginning is a big thing.
Right.
And then it's like one sentence the sister says. So, So just so you guys know, they basically have this whole thing that like they won't let any Halloween decorations in the house. The kid can't go trick or treating because this girl went missing in the neighborhood. So they do set up kind of like black phone, like there's shit. So through most of the movie, you're thinking, at least I'm thinking, the dad or the mom is torturing kids downstairs.
Exactly.
And then it takes a turn, and the sister's this crazy fucking mutant thing they've kept locked up. And the skull in the yard is that kid or one kid that went missing. But there's a part, the sister's trying to win the kid over, like after the knocks to like obviously be released. And there's a part where she does say the parents killed the girl and buried her in the garden. But so I guess what happened was like the sister had escaped. The girl came to the house for candy. She saw the sister.
Right.
So the parents abducted her and killed her to like keep their locked up daughter a secret.
Right. Because on Halloween, it wouldn't have been way easier just to been like, oh, our daughter's in a Halloween costume. Yeah. So I always thought this was the sister trying to manipulate the brother into laying her out because the story seems dumb as shit. But if you read the interviews with the director and the writers, like that's actually what happened. But it's so confusing and so much stuff doesn't make sense once you get into like the actual sister's story. Who fucking knows? That makes
it was
just
cool
as much
that the
sense.
kid just like poisoned his parents.
Yeah.
Like the kid literally, because his parents are so weird after he talks to his sister in the wall, it's like, I'm going to put rat poison in their food. So I give it to him. Like, I like this kid. He's not that normal little kid who's just like scared and it's like, I don't know what to do. Everybody's telling me different things. He was straight up like, okay, I believe the kid in the wall. Like, I'm poisoning my parents and fucking killing them. And he fucking kills his parents. He kills it. Like, he's like, cool, I'm going to fucking kill him.
Yep. Yeah.
Which
There's-
is like also makes you think maybe their kids were all just monsters.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a way better story than what this
No,
turned
I was
into.
really hoping that like at the end it was like both of them like were fucking shit up, but it's just yeah.
As much as
It's literally Barbarian and Boogeyman, like these
Yeah.
movies like capture you and take you in, and then just the twist is dumb. And
little fucking Jimmy, fucking three
And,
people before the end,
the-
decides to fuck the story up.
right. And so like I've read different things and tried to look in before this just to be like, what the fuck? Like where were they going? And it goes back to this like all these movies now are really trying to jump on the mental illness train.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what they said about this was that she wasn't supernatural. She was just a little girl who was deformed. But because she was locked away and treated so badly, an outcast, that she became this supernatural being. Now, I don't hate that. And like you said before, like a lot of Japanese movies, other lore does this
Right.
kind of thing. But they literally, for me, all that statement would have taken was one scene.
Yeah.
That was like a montage cutscene of the parents grabbing a deformed girl, locking her away, her sitting there, maybe cutting herself, whittling some wood, doing some shit, and slowly morphing from human into this monster.
Right.
But they don't give us that. They give us this voice in the wall, and then all of a sudden there's supernatural hair, and like it's the ring. It's the
Mhm.
fucking ring, and she's crawling all over the place and fucking a killing machine, even though if you were locked away, you would be weak as fuck.
Right.
And so
Living
it
on
makes no
spiders
sense, and it
and
doesn't-
rats.
right. Like at one point I was like, wait, did the parents kill her and this is like her ghost? Or
That's what I
like,
initially
what is
thought.
this?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't until like today when I was doing more research, but like even movies like Barbarian, if they would have done like a little montage about how like that fucking weird thing,
Mm-hmm.
like more than what they did, it doesn't take fucking much. It
Yeah.
takes a 5-minute cutscene of like a backstory. Even the black phone, there was no backstory with the fucking grabber. Like just do a tiny bit of, I don't know, but maybe that's what younger people don't want that. But like, as someone who loves old fairy tales and like that kind of lore, the beginning to end is fun, like whatever.
Well,
But there was no bridge
I was thinking about this earlier today.
and there was no lore. Like,
Right.
where is the lore? You can't just say like this and now this happened. Why?
Right.
Like
Right.
what turned them? You know?
That happens, or it doesn't exactly happen, but while I was watching it a second time, because I was thinking to myself, well, what's okay, the Halloween kid got killed, this girl's now supernatural, like what the fuck's going on, like what the fuck's going on? I was trying to figure it out. And
Mhm.
I was also thinking, because I totally forgot that she kind of like gives her own little monologue as to how she became all fucking like a spider lady, you know? Because I was
Kind
thinking,
of, yeah.
right. I was thinking usually they would do that in the old, just any of the old horror movies from like 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Like they would, everything would happen and then you'd get the fucking cop or whoever. Oh, Dr. Jenkins, he devised this plan and he did this and XYZ, whatever. But
Oh yeah.
which was fine. But all that stuff that they say at the end makes sense throughout the story. This is like this movie's going on this one storyline, and then there's this thing that just changes the whole movie.
I mean, they could literally pay someone a couple $1,000s to animate it and do it like a comic strip and do like 3 different transitions and add it to the movie. And I would like this movie 10 times better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like almost like what Tarantino did with Kill Bill, like the little backstory things. Like if you add it, and they could be like 2 minutes long, you could literally add 6 minutes of animated or even real acted stuff that gives
Totally.
a little story and like fairy tale lore. And I'd be like, that's cool. But like, they expect us to just get there because this poor girl was locked away forever. Sure,
Right.
I feel bad for her. But just like every superhero or supervillain becomes this bigger thing, like they needed that for her. even if it was just her in a cage, like I said, cutting herself or like talking to herself, like you needed to see that transition happen and see her turn from a girl into what we saw at the
Right.
end.
Because I mean,
And they didn't give that to us. They
No.
were just like, oh yeah, she's a product of what happened. No, I'm sorry. We know abused people. Like, no.
yeah,
it's
they
not.
don't they don't gain superpowers. Where
Right.
does this supernatural aspect come in at? If she had it the entire time, I
Right.
mean, the parents already killed one girl, one random neighborhood kid just because they saw her. If she has these supernatural things and if they think she's such a threat, just kill her.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, I know it's their child, but if it was this big of a dark secret and then they have another child that you would think they would want to protect,
Right.
why would they even risk that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially if she had gotten out before.
Yeah. Yep. And you're exactly right. The first 3/4 of the movie I'm into. Yeah. There's little things like I wasn't super psyched on it's a ghostly voice talking to this kid. It could either be a ghost or whatever. I'm
Me
like,
neither.
black
Yeah.
phone thing. I'm like, all right. But
Yeah, it was dumb.
but even though like maybe they switched it up because they didn't want to be too much like the black phone, but the vibe is already set for it to be like a black phone type thing. So just go with it, because the alternative seems to be add some completely abstract story onto the end of this movie. And it just makes it more confusing,
Oh, totally.
and then just little stuff like the teacher, they tried to get her involved, but I don't know. She was just kind of like,
I mean, I think they needed a bridge care. I mean, I think at least that worked because it got the parents kind of on guard.
right.
The bully thing though,
Yeah. That's become
although
a huge.
I can't talk that much shit because in the 80s, bullies would just walk into the houses and those old horror movies would have shit like that. But nowadays, I'm sorry, like you've got to be dumb as fuck.
Yep.
Especially that kid's cousins or brothers, whoever, were like mid to late teens.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you don't just walk into an expensive ass mansion and start breaking shit knowing people are home.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you get fucking shot or go to jail for a long time. I don't know.
It was just a weird. I felt like the end.
Or if you do, you show up with guns. Teenagers show up with guns and do dumb shit because the kind of dumb people who do shit like that would show up with weapons.
Exactly. Yeah. It just felt like that last quarter was just like a mishmash of weirdness and just stuff. Let's do this and let's kind of add this, and then this thing will happen, and now she has superpower, or she's supernatural, but she was just a kid, a normal kid that they hid away, and now she's out for revenge. And it's like, wait, what the fuck is going on? What are you guys talking about?
And I feel like they tried to make that bully Malfoy from Harry Potter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like the bad kid from Karate Kid. I'm sorry, but the whole like Village of the Damned, super blonde, shitbag kid, it gets old. And maybe that's because I was a super blonde kid and just didn't really like that, because some of us aren't like that. But it's like, be a little more original.
Yeah. I just, for me,
because you definitely tried to be original with the fucking weird ass ending and no explanation about it. So
yeah, I mean, for me, I wish it would have just continued on to it being like a very flowers in the attic type thing.
Totally. It gave me that feel too.
Yeah. Where
and
the parents,
that shit would not come out today. Those
right?
fucking books.
That I would have liked this movie so much more, because it was more consistent with the storyline throughout the movie up until that point. And I'm like, dude, that'd be rad if it was just these parents are fucking psychos. Because they both do such a good job. I thought it might have
been some kind of inbreeding thing too with the daughter. I thought maybe it was like the dad's. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All of that
like
would have been
sibling weird shit. Yeah.
Would have made more sense and made the movie better, especially
Way
with
more
the
sense.
sister.
Why is
with
she
the
mutated?
Yeah, with the teacher, doing all the searching. Oh, lost kids, kid disappeared on Halloween, like all the research. I'm like, okay, well, that would make more sense. And then she starts finding all these other kids that have disappeared and they're all buried in the backyard and all this whatever. I'm like, yeah, that would have been way better than supernatural spider daughter.
People are just getting dumber.
I think so.
Sorry.
This is true. You will not get any argument from me on that point.
But it was really promising for 3/4.
Mm-hmm. It
And
really
I was
was.
feeling it. And the acting was great. And then Spider-Woman came.
And then blue balled.
And her voice. Ugh.
Yeah.
It was just dumb. It was so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a fucking wuss. For everyone listening, you should know. I've done the show long enough. I am a wuss. At no point in this movie was I like squinting one eye or like ready for a jump scare. And when it finally happened, I like didn't move at all. And my eyes rolled so far back in my head that they could barely come back to watch the rest of the movie.
The one part I did like, and I have to say, I did like the amount of blood and gore. Like I thought the kill scenes and everything were cool, and the throwing up.
Yeah.
When he was
the poisoning scene was super fun. That's
When
like
he-
one of the best poisoning scenes. That's what sucks though. There's like some great
Yep.
highlights to this.
in that part where he was dreaming and he sees his mom down the hallway and she's all, ghouled out looking and comes.
Oh, and it's like the stop motion.
Yeah, running down the hallway and then the lights go out, but you could still hear her feet running down thing. I'm like, that's cool. Then
Dude, I love that stuff. Like 30 Days of Night used that with the vampires. And I love like that shit's scary when you actually adjust shutter speed to make it look like that is such an effective and really easy trick without using like CGI sometimes.
This is true. Else. Oh yeah. And the CGI on this was not that great.
Oh my God. Well, and that's what pissed me off too. This movie was so good about not using special effects, using good old fashioned acting, using like light to their advantage, cinematography great, and then when it took a turn, but that's the same shit with Barbarian and Boogeyman and all those movies. Like, why are they making them like old school horror movies and building a great fucking story and not using all the stupid fucking cheesy parlor tricks to get you in? And then the last 20 minutes, they're just like, we're going to throw CGI in your face and fuck up the story.
Yep.
Thanks for paying.
Well, I forget who was talking about it, but they were talking about practical effects, as bad as they look, is still believable because it's an actual thing.
Of course, so you can see that.
Yeah, even though you know it's fake,
it's more scary.
You're like, that's still a physical thing. Whereas when you start using CGI for these monsters, I mean, except if it's like huge monsters like King Kong and Godzilla, that's different. But like,
you're not looking for realism there, like,
right?
You're looking for the creatures.
But like, yeah. But when it's a little more personal and up close, like for a human, when you see that shit and it's all CGI'd, you know it's completely fake. Like, that's not a physical thing there. So it's a whole other aspect of like visual concept. And it sucks. And they should have just kept her some fucking weird, creepy thing that didn't need to be all like, oh, I'm going to walk upside down or crawl like a spider. Like they always
spider
do.
Crawl. I'm so over it. If this new fucking Exorcist movie has a spider crawl,
I'm sure it will. Or
bodies can contort so many ways. Like, really? We're doing the crab walk? Why?
Or if you're going to make her some weird fucking supernatural spider thing, give her like 8 fucking arms or 8 legs or what. Like, make her a fucking spider. Make her some really gross color out of space mutant fucking baby thing. Totally. Like, just go for it. Don't like half-ass it. Make it like kind of like a Ring type looking girl, but with like a weird face. But they didn't do that, and they fucked it up. So let's rate this masterpiece. I'll give it, for all its faults, for the 3/4 of the movie that were actually good, I'll give it a 2. Like, I've watched it twice and I wasn't disinterested. Like, I didn't hate the time I was watching it. Like, it's entertaining enough, but it could have been so much better if they would have just been more consistent in staying with one aspect of a story instead of switching it up at the end. So 2 for me. 2 candy corns.
Actually, the same. And it's a 2 because like I really love Anthony Starr and Lizzie Kaplan. And I think they knocked their parts out of the park and worked with what they were given so well. I really wish someone would take this and just do another cut It could
Yep.
be good. It could be really good. Um, and that's what's disappointing about so many of these we've watched recently. Like they are not far off from being classics.
Right.
They just missed like the smallest mark. For me, it was really, I just wanted like, even if it was a 30-second montage of like the girl in the cage going crazy, that would have made me feel more attached
Yeah.
to why she would be this kind of like villain and not just and supernatural, like, and have these powers, not just like a fucking poor skinny ass chick that's been starved and put in a cage.
Or being locked up and finally being able to like get out a little bit and go through the walls to tell her brother, like, hey,
oh, dude,
mom and dad keep killing fucking kids. They're fucking crazy. Like they're going to do
totally.
it to you. Get out. But
I mean, if they would have shown her breaking out and then like slowly being able to like move more and get stronger or like something,
Mhm.
just something like, and I'm all about not showing things.
Yep.
But you cannot humanize a character and then make the character supernatural without showing something.
Yeah.
You can hide something that's a known supernatural and then it comes out. But like there has to be a bridge. And the fact that there isn't doesn't it makes you not connect to anybody. But yeah, I don't know.
It's like they get together, the writer and the director. Writers get this story that's kind of good, and then the producer's like, hey, I want my idiot son to have some input in this movie. And then they bring in like fucking Hunter Biden, just some coked out fucking just goofball that's like, yeah, man. And then she's going to be like in this hole.
Her hair's crazy and she's crawling on the walls.
Her hair
and
moves.
her jaw can just break a femur.
Yeah. And they're like, that doesn't make any sense we're already here. No, I really think we should fucking put this in there. Like Tommy Boy. You're like,
yeah. No, totally.
And then they just are like, dude, we have to do it because fucking old man Smith is going to pull funding for this movie if we don't. So just do your best with it. All right. And then you get these fucking pieces of shit. But that's not even fair to say because they're not complete pieces of shit. It's just like, if it's not the ending, it's like somewhere in the middle. Something gets fucked up and you're like, oh, you almost had it.
Oh, yeah, totally. And honestly, shout out to Anthony Starr. Like, Homelander is one of the best characters portrayed on film or in a show ever. And he did great with this. And I love him even more because if you ever follow him on social media or any of his stuff, he's like this Australian. He's friends with Chris Hemsworth. And literally his life is like surfing, rescuing dogs and being the cuddly bear, like hilarious kind of wild, like but decent sweet person. Australian. Yeah. And then like I loved him in Banshee. I watched that show. He was one of the main characters, and then everything else he's done and like everything he's done, he always looks like he's chewing tobacco because the way his jaw is, even though he isn't, and he's just like a fucking psychopath and everything. But it was so weird the first time one of his like videos popped up in my social and he was just talking naturally, and I was like, oh, he's totally just like a fucking like Aussie that wants to like chill with his dog on the beach and like ride waves that would probably kill him, but like super down to earth. Like,
well,
chill.
I didn't even I didn't even know he was in this movie. Like it was a total surprise when he walked on screen. I'm like, wait, what? Oh shit. Oh
yeah.
And then he started, his character started being his character, and I was excited.
Yeah.
Because
he's so good at being this like wild card, calm asshole
sociopath
that will go from calm to like, I'm gonna like cut out your tongue and chew it in little tiny pieces.
Yeah. Homelander wouldn't be such a great character if he wasn't playing him.
I can't picture anyone else to play that. Like the people who casted the boys from top to bottom did so well. Yep. If you ever want to see like a comic or graphic novel come to life, the boys and then Peacemaker are the only two I can say that just like nailed that kind of dark comedic tone, which is so fucking hard to do because both of those shows are so dark, but yet you laugh through most of them.
Yeah.
And then feel almost like a bad person because you're like, why is this so fucking funny?
And then you end up,
But yeah,
at least for
fucking
me,
Homelander,
like,
some of the shit.
he's
I'm like,
my-
I can't believe they filmed this.
he's my
I love
favorite
him. No,
character. Yeah.
same. And I'm like, I'm totally like,
I'm Team
why am I
Homelander.
oddly attracted?
yeah.
I want to kill him.
I'm like, he's such a
Yeah.
piece of shit. It's like a,
But he knows it. That's what's the
Yeah.
best part. Like, he does not give a fuck. He is like, I am this weird, pervy, gross dude, but I am the best.
yeah. It's
And you're like, maybe you are. I don't
Right?
know, but I hate you, but I love you, but God, you're awful. But wait.
to me, it's like, it's like a Gigi Allen effect. Like, I love Gigi Allen. He
Totally.
was a horrible
Totally.
person,
Yeah.
but he could be nice at times. And then you see
Sure.
like how he was brought up, and
Mhm.
you're just like, oh, so it's really not his fault, really.
Yeah. You're like, he never had a chance
Yeah.
to be normal. And
Right.
he doesn't.
Right. But you're like,
They're both
I'm glad he
they're
wasn't.
both like they were both like adult babies. It's like they never actually were able to
Yeah.
emotionally mature. So like as an adult, these things they're doing, you're like, they're awful. But if you think of them as infants or toddlers, you're like, oh
100%.
yeah, I'd do that as a toddler.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. That's
Like
exactly
they
the
never
thing.
learned social cues, like
Mm-mm.
life cues or anything. They literally just hit 3 or 4 years old and then turned into men and still were 4 years old.
Dude, exactly.
Even like Gigi Allen's great, but even his lyrics, you're like, oh, I could write this when I was like
yeah.
4 years
You're
old.
like, what the fuck? Like, what?
Just like picture him sticking out his belly out like a toddler, and
Uh-huh. Yeah.
walking around with a rattler. Like it
With
makes
his tiny
sense.
baby dick. You're like, oh, it's
Yeah,
just a full grown
no.
adult baby.
pooping everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
totally
Exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, Homelander, like, especially if you're talking about like a comic book character with the greatest being ever created, like a literal god,
without ever maturing emotionally past
Right.
4 or 5 years old.
because everyone that handled him fucked him up. So he never,
Oh,
you're
dude.
like, oh my God, I'd probably be just as bad if I had all that power.
And they placated him and like just gave him what he wanted. They were
Yeah.
like, what do you need? Like, you're our
Yeah.
little special prince. You're our little
Yep.
baby.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
we're going to give you what you need. You're a special, pretty boy. Take anything you want.
Yep.
So like, yeah, like he's the most horrendous character on anything I've ever read or watched. 'Cause I've read the comics, but at the same time, I don't blame him.
No.
I blame
No.
everybody around him when he's growing up to let that happen. Like
Yep.
he doesn't know better.
No.
It's hilarious because when he does shit, like you're just like he has not like he just totally thinks this is fine. And
Yeah.
it's not. But
But
next time you're watching it and he fucks you up, just picture him as 4 or 5 years old and you're like, oh yeah.
well,
Yeah.
the thing that Anthony
That's that.
Starr does so well is he gives you those little moments of humanizing the character.
Oh, dude, when he like stops and kind of gets a twitch, but then you can see him thinking about everything and getting
Uh-huh.
hurt
You're right.
before he just destroys everyone.
Right.
You feel for him. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, his feelings are hurt. And he doesn't understand why people don't like him.
Yeah. Yeah. He does such a good
job.
such a good job of
It's
that.
so good. Like he will do the most awful things. And when people respond bad, you can see him kind of like
I don't get it. Like,
in
why?
his own head processing, like, why aren't they just listening to me and happy?
I thought that's what you wanted.
Now I have to
I just-
destroy everything. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it's so good.
And he
I
did
like
that.
that this has just turned into an Anthony Starr love fest because I'm
You're like,
here
I'm in-
for
I'm
and a
down
boys
for it.
love fest. If you guys have not watched The Boys, watch
Do
The
it.
Boys. It's oh god, if you're
can't wait
fans
for
of
season
horror or
4.
comics or
Yeah.
anything, it's so good. I told you what happened at work, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
So like maybe 2 weeks after the first season started, the
Mhm.
guy who plays the what is it? The water one. The
Right,
wave,
right.
the something, the deep.
Yeah.
The deep.
deep. Yeah.
So it was like the week after his rape scene came out.
Yeah.
Not where I don't know if where he got raped had come out yet, but when he was with
Yeah. With
Starlight or whatever.
Face bang Starlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am so bad at recognizing celebrities in person. Like I never ever do, but my staff is pretty good at it. And all the women kept talking about how this guy from Gossip Girl was in the diner.
Yeah.
And I have never seen a single episode of Gossip Girl, so I didn't even ask them where because I was like, I don't.
Right.
Okay. So my manager, one of my managers went on break, and I was the one checking people out, and all of a sudden I see the Deep walking up, and let me tell you, he is fucking beautiful in person. He's a very small man, though.
Yeah, he looks
good. Like he looks good. It's funny. You can tell actors in person once they stand up, they expensive skincare.
Right.
And,
well, he
everything.
has
they look manicured.
He has a good facial structure.
Oh yeah.
So,
and he was dressed like shit, but
right.
He's still yeah.
Right.
Man, if I was single and saw that person out. But anyway, so he's walking up and I'm like, oh, that must be the guy from, I don't realize at first. And I'm like, oh, this is definitely the actor from Gossip Girl. And he comes up and hands the receipt up and he starts talking because I was like, I've seen him in something. And he hands me the receipt and he starts talking and it fucking clicks. And I just look up and make eye contact. And I'm like, how was everything today? And he's like, he literally looks at me and is like, you watched The Boys. And I was like, what? Why would you? How was everything? And he's like, no, you're disgusted by me. And I'm like, which is funny because I was not before.
Right.
At all
right.
as he was walking up. I was listening to Dreamweaver. He was in slow motion. But yeah, once I heard his voice, I immediately tensed up and was like, oh, this motherfucker. And I was like, why would you say that? And he's like, it's okay. The last 2 weeks, pretty much, everywhere I've gone, women are just disgusted. He's like, it's been really great because I don't know if you know the other stuff I've done, but people used to really be into me. Women loved me, smiled, waved, asked for autographs. He's like, yeah, now I just get overweight, crazy stalkers, men mostly, who ask for my autograph. And every woman looks at me for a second, happy, and then immediately sours and doesn't want to talk to me. He's like, I mean, there are certain types who definitely haven't seen The Boys. He's like, but last 2 weeks, I guess I've just run in places where everyone's seen it. And I was like, so how was your meal?
Yeah.
he's like, no, it was great. He's like, but I mean, you have seen The Boys, right?
That's hilarious.
And I was like, do you want me to say yes?
Like, what do you want me to say?
That will make you feel better? I was like, what if I haven't? Yeah. And he's like, then I am losing my game. And I was like, yeah, I've seen The Boys. And he's like, I'm not like that. And I was like, I know. And I was like, trust me, the guy who is the demon in the Exorcist series is a regular here. And it took me a year and a half of talking to him before he finally called me out on my shit. And I was able to just give him a hug and be nice.
There you go.
And I was like, I am that person. But it was funny. Like he knew.
He probably got. Yeah, he's probably just got put through the ringer and was like, you're fucking disgusting.
But it was funny. He's like, I can't say much, but don't worry, the character gets his. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, that doesn't do anything. And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, I know. Everyone's mad at me. He's like, do you know in the comic it was Homelander and not me? And in the series, for some reason, it's me. And I'm like, okay. Like I'm not the one you should be talking to about
don't blame me, dude.
No.
But
no, he was super nice and cool. And he is small. He's small.
Yeah, he looks, I mean, he's obviously small in the show, but he looks like he's probably like Prince size, like 5'3", 5'4".
He's probably 5'4".
Yeah.
Because he was, and I was wearing heels that day too, which felt good too, because I was giving him a look like, you better not really rape people, sir.
Listen,
I hope this character isn't empowering you to go rape people.
Listen here, David Faustino. Listen here, Bud Bundy. Get out of here.
It was funny because after the interaction, of course, like all the girls walked up and were like, "You guys were talking for so long. Like, what was it about? What was he like?" And I'm like, "It was about the boys." And they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "The show he's on now." And they're like, "We're gonna check it out." And then like the next few weeks at work, they were like, "Oh my God, what the fuck is that? We watched one episode. Like, you watch stuff like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
Yeah. Awesome.
But yeah, it was one of the few celebrity interactions that was actually hilarious, and I was really trying to have my customer service face on, and he like totally he just knew. He's like,
you hate me.
Sorry.
Well,
I don't hate him, I just wish he wouldn't be rapey. But then he got gill fucked, so it was fine.
Yeah, he certainly did. Gill fingered. That was gross.
Ugh, that was a gross scene. Of all the scenes that are so gross in that show, that was still one that I was like, I just don't want to be watching this.
Yeah. The boys. Check out the boys too. And as for Cobweb, check it out, but just be aware that it's gonna turn fucking weird. So. And
check out Face of Horror.
Oh,
and vote for Scar.
Yeah, do that. Vote for her.
Do it. It's still another week or two, and you can vote every day, and she'll win $13,000. And she's already said if she wins it, she's going to give E $3,000 and me $3,000.
There you go.
And also mutant kids that are living in walls and basements. The rest of the money.
God. Yeah. This fucking movie.
Because that's real and fun.
It makes sense, apparently.
And worth paying like real actors to do movies that have that in it. Because it makes sense. That do
such a good job. And then and they die too. So it's like they didn't even make it through the whole movie.
But hopefully, I am tomorrow night seeing A Haunting in Venice. And even though it's not a true horror movie, it's got paranormal stuff. And I have liked the other movie they did with this character. And we'll see what happens.
We will definitely see what happens. Oh, yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody, on this Crossing the Streams episode where we got to catch up and talk more about band shit as we do on these episodes because...
And Anthony Starr.
And a little bit about the movie Cobweb. So join us next time for the next episode of Monster Candy Podcast, everybody. See ya. Amazing.
Children of the night, what music they make.
candy?